Hi everybody, it's Kate Luella and it's my last interview for this year, 2012, and today I've got a wonderful guest. Her name is Suzi Butcher. She's from packabook.com. That's PACKABOOK.com. Packabook is an interesting concept, and look, I think that Suzi is the quintessential blogger. You know, she has a full-time job during the day as a journalist, and at night time she sits down and she does what she loves to do, which is read books, write about books, write on her blog. She interacts with her crowd, she runs competitions, she does all sorts of things, and it's really exciting. So I'm going to get straight into this interview. I hope you enjoy it as she explains where she came from, why she started this blog, what she does with it, and how she's intending to monetize it. And trust me, she has big dreams for this blog. So without further ado, here's Suzi from packabook.com. Hi Suzi, look, thank you for talking to me today.
Hi, Kate.
How are you going? So now you're in London, aren't you? Or
Yes, I am. It's the depths of winter here now, and all dark and cold as we get ready for for Christmas.
oh, so we're getting hot days here in Melbourne now, which is
Yes, I'm very jealous.
I know. Are you getting snow or anything like that?
Not in London yet, but there's still plenty of time for that to happen. I don't think we're looking at a white Christmas though.
Oh, oh, that's a shame. Do you get that White Christmas there often? How long have you been there?
I've been here about 10 years. I don't think we've actually had it, not in London for Christmas, but sometimes pretty close, sort of a couple of days afterwards or things like that. But, it's always the dream, isn't it, to, to walk out on Christmas Day and find it's just snowed.
Because you're originally from Australia, aren't you?
I am indeed.
Okay, no worries. So you grew up in Perth, is it? Or
Yes, pretty much the complete opposite weather to here.
oh, okay. But Perth's from actually one of the nicest states weather-wise, isn't it? Like it's quite
But
consistent.
it's too hot for me. I mean, January and February, I just can't do anything. I'd sit and watch cricket all day in the air conditioning because I couldn't cope with going outside.
Double torture. No, that's fair enough. Well, look, I really want to talk to you about your blog because I just think it's a fantastic idea and I can't wait to talk to you a bit about it. Tell me all about why you started this blog. So just tell me briefly, how does the blog work? What's the theory behind your blog?
Right. Well, the idea is, well, I can tell you the story about how it came about because that sort of tells the story of what it is. But
Okay.
when I go traveling, I want to know more about the place that I'm traveling to than just I'm going to find in a guidebook. So I used to seek out novels that told me a little bit about that place. So because I can sit and read a history book or a guidebook, but it doesn't sink in. But if I read a novel that's set in Paris in the 1930s, I'm completely immersed in that story, and it's alive to me, and the places they talk about are real to me, and so that's what I want whenever I go somewhere, and then I'll remember it. I could go somewhere 5 years later, and I'll say, "Oh, that's the place that they talk, about in that novel. And that's
That's
where
where they
I
fell in
was."
love,
Exactly, and
Yeah.
it's real. I could have read about that in a guidebook, and I never would have remembered it.
Mm.
So that's something that I would constantly seek out. And some places that's relatively easy for if you go to Paris. I mean, especially at the moment, there are endless novels set in Paris. But other places are more difficult. Now, I was going on a trip to Cape Town in South Africa, and I started my usual looking around, and you put into Amazon Cape Town book, and all you get is guidebooks come up. It's very difficult to find novels that are set somewhere so specific. So I just thought, gee, I wish there was a website I could go to that just told me really good novels that I could read in those places. And so that's kind of where it starts from. So that's the website is called Pack a Book. The
Mm.
idea being that you go to pack a book to go traveling,
Mm.
and it's really that's what it's there for, is to help you find those novels in particular countries. And it might not just be because you're traveling. I mean, I'm very interested in stories from Afghanistan, for example, because I just want to know more about what life is like there. Again, if anyone's read The Kite Runner, which is one of the books that a lot of people have read about Afghanistan,
Mm.
it gives you an insight into that country. And I'm not like to go there for a holiday at the moment,
Mm.
but I still
No.
want to know on there. And I just love those kind of novels that really tell me something about a place. And so that's the whole idea behind the site.
So is there any other blog doing that, or are you the only one that you know of?
There wasn't when I first started to look, not quite in this direction. Since then, I've, obviously you come across things a bit more once you're immersed in that market. And yes, there are some sites where there'll just be basic lists of books
Right.
set in place. I'm not really aware of any other that really focuses on novels. Others will have lists of everything. So travel books, guidebook. I mean, I have that as well, but I have it divided so that if you just wanted to find novels, you really could. But what there definitely isn't are people who really try to get that connection between a novel and a place, in the sense that I will say, here is this novel. If you read this novel and then you go to this place, you can go to this, and this place, which are mentioned in the novel. And when you go there, you should do this, this, and this. So if it's really trying to really concentrate on that correlation between the place and the book, it goes into that far more deeply than in other sites that I've seen.
Yeah. Okay. So you wouldn't define it as a travel blog, would you? Really? I mean, is it? I mean, I'm just thinking, is it a travel blog?
No, I wouldn't. I mean, it's there's two parts, in the sense there's the website itself, which is more just the lists of books. So if you just wanted to go and pick a place and find a book, so that's one part. And then there's the blog, where we explore those novels a lot more. And obviously there are nowhere near as many on there as just the list, because it's going to take me a lifetime to even
Mm.
touch the surface of all the books that and really explore them. So, my thing is, there might be some people who all they want to do, they're going to one particular place, they want to go and look up books in that place. So I'm trying to serve that market. But with the blog, and so for people who sign up to follow the blog, or go on Facebook, they're more just interested in any books that will tell them somewhere interesting, to tell them an interesting story about a place. So that's, in a way, it's more of a book blog for those people, but who have an interest in foreign lands. So it's a hybrid, definitely.
Yeah. So I'm just thinking, is this your first blog?
First serious blog. I when I first discovered, I mean, I've sort of come around this in a roundabout way, in that there are people who say, I want to be a blogger, so they go and learn about how to be a blogger. I want to be an expert on books and places.
Mm.
So blogging is just one way to do that. It's the medium for me. I wouldn't define myself as a blogger. I want to define myself as the travel book lady. you
Right.
know. So
Because they're so common, aren't they? So is this do you have a day job? Like, is this like a hobby, or is this like how you earn an income? How's that working in for you?
which is quite a demanding day job. I'm a television journalist,
Oh,
and um, it's it's quite difficult, really, to match the two in some ways, in the sense that my work is a little bit unpredictable. I do shift work, I do night shifts, I do weekends, I may be sent away somewhere for 3 weeks. So, it's very hard to set up a blogging routine. So I thankfully I have seem to have very patient people who subscribe to me. So
yeah.
sometimes when I'm sat for weeks on end, um,
So
it's
do you get other people to contribute, like to write posts for you?
I do selectively. I mean, the thing to remember with this for me is this is still very early days. So, well, it's not in time, in the sense that I've been at it for a couple of years, but in terms of the amount I've produced,
Yeah.
people will have amount in 2 weeks, but it's taken me 2 years. But so, if I come across, I might come across a book and think, I'd really love to hear from this particular writer about the location they chose for this book. They've obviously spent some time in there. I'd love that writer to tell me where the best restaurants are that they've been to, and in the place. So to get that view of the writer about that place. And so, mostly when I have approached people, they've been very happy to it's more a sense that I ask them a series of questions, they answer them, and I put that on, rather than them writing the piece themselves.
Right.
But that's usually their ideas being contributed are terrific. And as the odd person I've come across, I haven't. What it is I haven't actively gone out and sought this, but if I've come across people along the way, then it's been great. It's the odd person sort of in my online world, where I've said, "Oh, would you be interested in writing a post?" And they have. So that's good. But I would obviously love, as this grows, for this to become much more a community of. Because I cannot read every book in the world that I
No,
want to read.
no. And the more people
I,
contribute to it, the more they'll want to be involved reading it. So it's kind of a two-way benefit.
I mean, I don't have the technical skills yet, and I'm still, this is still a website I've built myself, so it's pretty basic. But
Mm,
one day, as I get to that point, I would love it to be much more of a crowdsourced,
mm.
in terms. about places, because at the moment I'm really defining books by country and in some places by city. But eventually, I want you to be able to click on some small little town in Australia
Mm.
and find the book that is set there.
Yeah,
know?
exactly.
And
So if I read a book now and it was about, let's say it's about Perth, or it's set in Perth, if I wrote to you and said, "Look, Susie, I've read this book, it's great. Can I write a little review and you should put it up on your site, blah, blah, blah." Would you do that, or would you say, "Look, what do you do in that situation?"
about, and it is something I do have to be concerned about, is there are a lot of self-published novels going up everywhere at the
Right.
moment, and there are some fantastic self-published novels out there.
Mm.
But I am a curator of these books as well, and I'm only putting up books that I am confident people will have a good experience in reading.
Right. Because
And
you can't go and read them all, obviously. Yeah, fair enough.
there are some books I've had sent to me and I've read, and I've decided no, it's just not good enough to go up there, or it doesn't have a good enough sense of place, which is the other criteria for me. The fact that they happen to mention they're in Paris, but the whole book takes on place in a room and nobody walks out the door.
Right.
It's not getting got a sense of place that I think the people that come to pack a book are looking for. And this self-publishing explosion that's happened in the last 12 months, because now you can upload anything you like to Kindle on the Amazon,
Yeah.
means we're being inundated with novels, and some of which I have read, and some of them really just do not pass muster. I'm sorry. There's a reason sometimes books need to go through an editing process.
Yeah.
And it's not to say that at some point I may not say, you know what, if you click on this link, it takes you to a whole load of self-published novels. You're on your own here, but if you're happy to,
Yeah.
go and find things, I can't vouch for any of them, then, I would like to do that at some stage, because I'm not, there are some fantastic self-published novels out there and they deserve their chance to be read. But at this stage, there are so many traditionally published novels that I still need to put up on the site that I just can't go down that path. So I unfortunately have to decline quite often when people are asking to send me their novel on PDF or
So
whatever.
how do you choose a book?
Right. Well, I go, I spend quite forever, most of my life is spent on Amazon reading
Right.
reviews,
Right.
scouring reviews for, I'll see a book, I think, well, that
Right.
looks interesting. But it's not a matter of just looking at the book. It's got 5 stars. It said, 3 stars or whatever. It's set in Paris. I really read through the reviews so that what I'm looking for is people saying, "Wow, when I read this book, it made me feel like I was walking down the Champs-Elysees." When
Right.
I find those kind of reviews, then I'm thinking, right, this is a book that obviously people have really felt a connection to the place from reading this novel. I would rarely put up anything under 3 stars because it sounds like too many people haven't enjoyed the book. I accept totally books that I might not enjoy, but other people will.
Yeah.
I'm not a lover of, I read some mystery novels, but I'm not a huge lover of it. But I accept there are people who are completely into those books, and if wherever they go, that's the books they'd like to read. So, if it gets 4 stars by someone who loves these mystery series set in a place, absolutely, that's fine. Or sometimes there are novels that aren't so highly rated by readers, but critics think they're fantastic for a particular purpose. They might be a little bit too literary for most people, or require quite hard work to read, but I'll accept that, as part of the literary canon, they are a very valuable book about a place, and so therefore, I'd like people to have the option to at least see
Yeah.
those. So it's quite a process,
Yeah.
and of course, I get completely lost in the world of Amazon of all these books I wish I had time to read.
Yeah. Yeah.
um,
Yeah, it
you know,
must get like that. So do you know, with your blog, do you know who your target demographic is? Do you know the type of person who's coming to
well,
Packbook regularly or not?
it's just the person just like me, of course, but
Right.
I think I'd say there's quite a large sort of middle-aged and upwards demographic, though I think there are people in their 30s who are very much into this kind of thing as well. What's interesting is, sort of through Pinterest and things, we're seeing lots of younger people certainly getting into places like Paris, for example. And I think, while I don't think I've managed to target those people yet because I just sort of haven't gone down that way enough, I think there's a huge potential market there. I think, there's this whole argument about ebooks, Kindle readers and stuff whether it's destroying reading and novels and things. But then you go into Pinterest, and the number of people who will load up images of a pile of beautiful books, and say how much they love books and things. I think there's still a huge fascination with books, and obviously, you can get Kindle books through Packabook as well. And I think there's a lot of people who maybe the first reading they really do is the free books they've picked up on a Kindle,
Mm.
but eventually they will get fed up with reading the same kinds of books, and I think they will start exploring much more into other types of novels. They might move beyond sort of your fantasy novels or whatever, and move into a whole range of books. So I don't think, it's very healthy. I think there's probably more people reading than there was before the Kindle. So I think there's a huge potential market out there, that's beyond what I'm approaching at the moment.
Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, basically, do you have any way of, like, you obviously don't do surveys or anything. What about commenting? Do you sort of get a feel I mean, I know it's only a name, but you might get a feel from the way they write.
I think so. And this is
Yeah.
where I'm thinking most people are
Right.
probably in, 40s and 50s,
Yeah.
most women, which is not uncommon when it comes to novels and book clubs and all that kind of
Blogs.
thing.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, I've sort of been delved into the book blog world as a result of this, and it's it's
Yeah.
amazing. I mean, there are out there and how passionate people are, and it's
Yeah.
fantastic. So,
Yeah. Pat, do you know the blogger Pat Flynn?
yes,
Yeah,
yes.
he's got his little Facebook group for Kindle writers or authors, whatever you call it. Don't know if you know that Facebook group. It's very popular. But anyway, no, that's fine. So okay. Now with analytics, do you watch your analytics at all?
I did initially. I was, fascinated day by day.
Yeah.
But because I haven't seen a huge amount of growth in the last year, partly because I'm not putting in as much time as I need to be putting into this, and it gets a bit dispiriting after a while when you're like, well, where's my thousands of people that I want to be seeing? So, and because of the whole, all the Google changes in the last year, I was finding myself very distracted from actually just getting on and writing content by becoming really caught up in all of this. And so I don't think the numbers that I have at the moment are big enough for me to be worrying too much about what I'm seeing there. What I need to be doing is doing a lot more guest blogging, a lot more writing, a lot more sort of constant publishing, and then start worrying a bit more about that, I think.
So do you monetize the blog at the moment in any way? Affiliate links or anything like that?
So all linked through to Amazon, and I'm an Amazon affiliate, so I make sort of 5 cents a
Was that,
book.
but was that your strategy from day one? Because sometimes it is.
Yeah, it was the strategy. I mean, and obviously when you're only dealing with books that might, people might be picking it up on the 99p Kindle deal, then the amount of money you're making is
Yeah.
is very. So you really need to be looking at hundreds of thousands of people ordering
The
your
traffic.
books. Yeah,
Yeah.
but I do see other things in the future coming out of it.
Mm.
I mean, I have grand dreams of setting up Packabook travel tours and,
Right.
Packabook vending machines in train stations with books just set in there. I mean, all sorts of things. And Packabook TV. I mean,
I like your dreaming.
at this stage, because I am in such demanding work, I have to sort of take it. I'm exploring this ground level of where I'm at, and the thing is, what'll happen now is for example, there are some travel blogs who I write for who will say, we're doing a feature on Croatia next month. Will you write us a piece for Croatia about books in Croatia? So then I go into full on research Croatia mode and come up with some books, which I have to say, there's only probably one really good novel in English that I can recommend at the moment in Croatia. So I go into all that. And so now I think, right, if anybody asks me a question about Croatia, I've got the book. Now I need to do that for nearly every country in the world before I'll feel like I'm, you know, really confident so that when Oprah invites me onto her show,
There's that dreaming again. I like it.
of course, once that happens, I'm made.
You're ready for it. You go, yes, whatever country you want, Oprah, we can take care of you.
Happy to have this slow growth while I'm still really getting to grips to all the countries that I feel I need to have read books in. So it's very organic in that sense. And what I've just started doing on Packabook is asking people to vote for the next country that I focus upon.
Okay.
And And that's been really fun because I thought, oh, maybe no one will respond when I put out this call. But we've had people come in and say, do Laos, do Cambodia, do Myanmar, or, and it's great because it means people care, which is wonderful. They come up with suggestions for books, um, and it forces me then to look at a country I may not have got round to yet, because at the moment I've only got something like 20 odd countries up there, and there's about another 170 to go. So it's
Okay.
it's a big.
Well, it's social media. Are you using social media at all?
I have a Facebook page and a Twitter account and a Pinterest account. What I'm enjoying doing with Pinterest is I'm setting up boards for each country where if you went to that board, you would obviously if you get any links through to articles I've written about particular places or books, but also other people. So I get to, have links there to an app you can buy that takes you through the cemetery in Paris, shows you where all the famous writers are buried or things like that. So really, if you're going somewhere and you went to that Pinterest board and you like novels or anything literary, you'll find things there like literary clubs you can go to, or things like that. So I'm building those up as well as I go along. Um, and Pinterest is great. You get, people are very passionate on there as well, and you find great images of books, which I have to say, which I love sharing.
Mm.
The Facebook, I mean, I'm sure anyone who's using Facebook at the moment, having Facebook pages, is realizing the problems they're having in actually reaching their, I have 200 odd fans on Facebook. Apparently, each of my posts only gets to about 20 or 30 of them. This is
Right.
what's everybody seems to be experiencing. It's frustrating. Sometimes it doesn't even appear in my own feed. I'll post something to the Packerbook page and then I go to my own wall and it doesn't even appear on my own. So I think there is a problem with that. But I still love having that Facebook page as a place to put things and links, and there is some discussion goes on. And you think, well, you've just got to gradually build all these things up as best you can. I hope Facebook sticks because I think, it is a really valuable way to reach people if it works well.
Only if it's working. I suppose you can tweet that you've put something on Facebook, but of course, if that person's only got Facebook, not Twitter, it's redundant. Like, it's not helpful.
And I'm not sure how many people do both
Yeah,
consistently, or if people more Facebook people, more Twitter people. So, I'm trying to cover a few bases there. Obviously, you can't do all
yeah,
the social media, otherwise you'd be doing it full time. But I have a Google Plus account. I put things on there. I'm not engaged in Google Plus at all, though, so I can't. Apparently have more people on my Google Plus page than I do on my Facebook page,
right.
but sort of how really involved they are, I'm not sure. That
But
I
see,
think a lot.
I'm looking at your homepage, and really on the top, I'm just looking at the top half. The first spread, so to speak. Facebook, Twitter, RSS feed. So I don't see your email opt-in, and I don't see your Pinterest or your Google Plus. So is that because you just haven't got around to putting them up there, or?
Most likely, well, you should see my email opt-in is the suitcase, but it's a bit further down.
Okay, okay, fair enough. Yeah, I'd put a Pinterest button then up there if that's
Yeah,
how you're doing well with Pinterest.
that's true. It's another one of those
To
jobs,
do.
isn't it? That's what we all have, is that our time, is so limited. And I need to really completely redevelop that homepage. Well, not the homepage, the site, because it doesn't function the way I need it to. It's not particularly Google friendly. I mean, all this is sort of a structure where there's an Amazon A store within each of the countries, and Google can't even read those. So, uh, and it doesn't give me the flexibility I need. I want to be able to say, if you liked this book, then here's some other books by this author, and I want to put up maps, and I want to do all sorts of things, and I can't do. This was my sort of first attempt at, I mean, seriously, I went to a bookshop to see if there was a book on how to make websites. I mean, that's how little I knew, as if any book would be up to date.
Yeah, yeah.
But,
Do you?
but
Sorry, go on.
many years' time, I'm probably still in the same place. We'll get there eventually.
Well, when I interview you in about 12 months, we'll see if it's the same. We can refer back to this. So, with your subscribers, do you go well getting subscribers? Do people opt
Um,
into the list?
it's fairly slow. I mean, I've probably just got a couple of hundred subscribers, but they're passionate.
Yeah, so they're good quality. Mm.
Yeah, I mean, what happens with my subscribers is when you sign up, I present it as it being a free like a book club, because when you subscribe, what you're subscribing to, other than the normal blog posts, what you're getting is probably what I think is my best content. And, I will at times repurpose some of that somewhere else. But what we do is we start in England, and we basically go to a country a month,
So is that an
and
autoresponder? Is that what you're talking about?
everybody starts in the same place regardless of when they
Yeah.
come
Okay.
in.
So this is a nice, easy, already done, you can set and forget sort of thing as a blog manager. That's good.
Yeah. So, this is again what I'm talking about, building up this content. So
Mm.
you go start on the harbour in Portsmouth, and you're setting off. You don't know where you're going, and then the next week you land in Guernsey, which is obviously one of the closest places, the island of Guernsey, and we spend 4 newsletters there. So the first week we talk about the book that I've chosen. The second week we talk about some of the history related to that novel, so what actually happened and how the novel fits into that. The third week we talk about the things you can do in Guernsey related to the novel and particular scenes in the novel. And the fourth week we sort of analyze the novel a bit, and look at other novels you could read that if you were interested to read further about that place. And then we set off again to another country. So the idea is you get a weekly newsletter.
You get an experience, basically.
Yeah, and then the next place we go to is the next country. So we're not just zipping all over the world. We are following a path. Now, the problem I have is that I am not good at sticking to being able to produce this every week, because the amount of research that goes into this is enormous.
Mm.
And I've had to read, for Morocco, for example, I had to read 6 books set in Morocco before I found one that I felt fulfilled the purpose that I wanted it to in terms of this newsletter. So if you join up now, then you've got 6 months of getting it every week before you catch up to me.
Well, that was going to be my next question. How much have you got going? So you've got 6 months worth. That's fantastic. That's pretty admirable.
With 4 newsletters for each country. And so what what sometimes happens is, and this is what I love about my subscribers, is I'll suddenly get an email from someone saying, I haven't had an email from you for 3 weeks. Have I been dropped off your list? What's happened? And then I know what, because you've caught up to me,
Yeah,
and I've been away for work for 3 weeks and I haven't been able to write anything. And they're very understanding. They're like, no rush, no rush, when you can. But it's great that they care enough to email and
of
say,
course. It's fantastic. It's
well,
great, isn't it? Because then you realize that someone's actually out
no,
there appreciating it. That's
my
good.
dad loves
Yeah,
the newsletter.
exactly. So then you realize it's your dad. That's right. I did want to ask you, are you interested in writing your own books? Is there something in there that's motivating you, perhaps?
I have 3 half-finished novels.
Don't.
I think part, part of my thinking behind this was, I'll get this set up to a stage where I can make a living from it. So then I spend my life where I just read and write novels and travel, and that's all I need to do. So
Yeah.
yes, I would love to see the day where I could spend, much more time writing. I don't at the moment, because every spare minute I have is spent doing stuff for Packabook. So I really can't do both at the moment, but that would definitely be my dream one day, where I could factor in a good few hours writing a day as well. That would be really good.
Yeah. Well, you're getting there because you're doing quite a bit for this blog. So, what about for anyone else thinking of doing a travel blog? Do you have any advice for them or any strategy for them?
I think I
Tips?
can. As I said, I wouldn't consider myself a travel blogger. The travel bloggers, I think, are the people who are constantly on the road
Right.
and about their experiences on the road. I don't do anywhere near enough travel to define myself as that. I'd hope that one day that's what I'll be able to do.
You're a book blogger. That's really what you're saying to me, isn't it?
I mean, most of what I'm giving you is research I've done about those places, where I've read other people's blog or connected you to other people's blogs about those places. It's in a lot of ways, it's a history blog, because a lot of the places that we're talking about, there is obviously a history that these books are set. The books are set in World War II in so many places, because that was so defining for so many countries, or amongst revolutions or things like that. So we do go quite a lot into the history. Now I'm a history student, so obviously my love of history comes out in that, I think. I'm trying to make those places come alive for you
So you know what I think, Susie? I think that you said that what inspired you was that when people go to a place, they want to read a novel to see what it's like and get a feel for it before they go. But I think it's the opposite. I think it's for the people who can't go those places and want to. And this is the way they travel. So that's something you might want to think about. It's marketing in that way, you know?
Absolutely, the armchair travelers, there
Yeah.
are a lot of who can't get there themselves. Yeah, and it's definitely a part of it. But it's just a huge project. This is a lifetime project trying to, do all this. The other thing that I'm working on at the moment is an iPad app
Oh,
because and that I think will be able to focus on actual travelers a lot. I think more and more travelers are traveling with iPads and iPhones, and they're reading on their iPads.
mm, mm.
The way this will work with the app is that you will be somewhere, you can find out what books are set where you are, and hopefully eventually, up we'll pop maps and say go to this restaurant, try it, it's in this book, and you can hear a little bit of audio of somebody reading the bit from the book about that place, all that kind of thing as
Well,
well.
you
So
you could monetize that too.
yes, completely. And there are lots of other monetizing options once
Right,
the audience is there.
right.
But I'm as any internet marketer will know, and any blogger, you get on these mailing lists and you are constantly being inundated with people trying to sell you things. And I I'm becoming very weary of that in my life altogether. I think of people trying to sell me something. They're only producing content for the sake of selling you something.
Mm.
And that's just not me. If I was doing that, I wouldn't be spending 20 hours writing a newsletter and researching all the history behind it to sell
Yeah.
one book. I just wouldn't be doing
I can tell you, an internet marketer wouldn't be pleased. They'd be saying you should outsource all of that.
exactly. And I mean, I'm there are aspects of this that I can outsource, but the writing of that stuff, no way. I mean, that's the being of why I exist in on this, you
Yeah,
know.
I totally get it. You're a true blue blogger. You take pride in it. Honestly,
Oh,
I get it. Don't worry. It's
and
no brainers.
the other thing for me is I think, say it really never makes any money. I get such pleasure from it that I actually don't mind spending this much time
Yeah, but
on.
that's the thing, isn't it? It's really more of a hobby, I guess. That I mean, you've got a full-time job, so there's no hunger in you to go and make money online. It's
No,
just your love.
I could always do another blog that does that,
Yeah,
possibly now
exactly.
that I
Yeah,
know the technical side of it. Not to say that I hope at this some point this doesn't give me enough of an income that I could leave my job and do a bit of travel. That would be fantastic. Or, as these things often evolve, they might evolve into something completely different and an idea you never would have had if you hadn't done this idea first.
yeah,
So, I'm very open to what might happen.
yeah. No, look, I think it's a fantastic idea. And I mean, I kind of wish you did monetize a little bit more because I think it would become a better blog faster. That's all. I
Well,
don't think it's gonna, you know.
do you have ideas of things that it could be monetizing it more? I mean, I have put on things like there's some of banners for one of the airline sites that you can go and look up cheap flights and things like that. That sort of thing I'm putting a little bit more in as well. Um,
It really, I think the blog. Do you know? I mean, I know you say it's not doing what you want it to do and all that. I don't have my browser up, so I can't see how it is for SEO. But I think for SEO it's quite good. And I think you need to drive traffic. If
yes,
you get a flood of traffic, then really the door's open for you in dozens of ways because it is unique what you're doing and it is professional and it is quality. And book lovers are like you. You know, they're very pedantic and protective. I mean, I get that. So I think it's wonderful what you're doing. But if we don't monetize it, it's not really going to reach its potential, because you won't have the time to put into it. So driving traffic is probably what I'd focus on more than anything,
mm,
because the content's kind of there.
well, that's it. And I mean, I need to be writing press releases and getting articles into the Qantas magazine and all sorts of things like that. I mean, these are all things that
Yeah.
need to be done. Unfortunately, because in my job I write.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's tough. Yeah. Maybe, yeah. Look, I
I mean,
don't have a quick answer for you, but I guess the key is with blogs is to drive traffic and then convert that traffic to whatever you want to convert it to. So in your case, I guess it would be, get them to sign up to an email list and then it's up to you what you do with them. Obviously, you don't abuse them, so you're not going to lose them.
I think I'm only convince people if they decide, I'm not into the kinds of books she chooses.
Of course,
And
yeah,
that,
yeah.
um,
But I think
but
because I think that your client or whatever target demographic is not people traveling. I think it's people who want to and can't. You really want the person who wants to tune in every week and see what you're reviewing this week and who you're interviewing and whatever it is you decide to do to make your blog so good that they start word of mouth. People start coming over and signing up. What about forums and things like that? Do you get into them much and talk about what you're doing or?
yeah, I did a little bit initially, and what's great is out of some of that, I still definitely do get some traffic from forums. What I'll often find other people mentioning me in forums, which is of course much more useful. People say, "Oh, I came across this website. If you're looking for books set somewhere, especially this is in like travel forums, because people often do put a question on a travel forum saying, "Does anyone know any good books set in Egypt?"
There you go.
And
Yeah.
right, I have seen some people responding and saying, "Oh, I found this great site and it has a great selection of books," and then they'll put a link, which is brilliant. Now, obviously, you can run into trouble yourself doing that on forums, so you have to be a bit more, sort of give some ideas of books without giving a link initially.
Mm.
So that's all quite time consuming. So I have to say I haven't been doing as much of that lately, and I'm hoping that that word does travel itself a little bit more. But the amount of jobs I have to do, and
Yeah.
I mean the list, right? I know this is still going to take some time, and I am working on what I can get other people to do
Mm.
to free me up for writing the content, which is the most important stuff, and choosing the books. I'm not prepared to have someone else choose the books.
I think it's fantastic, and I think it's a fantastic idea. It's really innovative.
I just want people to come on this journey with me, really,
Mm.
because there are so many wonderful novels out there. Yeah, another thing I'd love to mention is, when this gets to the place, where it's really making some money at some point, it goes beyond this for me in that I, I want people to read a great book. Absolutely. Be entertained, all of that. But this is all about how many times have you read something like The Kite Runner or these kind of books that actually make you understand more about the world and the people in it. And you might look at an Afghan you see in the street a little bit differently because you've read that novel
Mm.
and the story of where they've come from or what they've dealt with in their lives. And this to me is why it's important people read these books, because we can't possibly experience all these things ourselves, and through novels we really do. I really think you can make the world a better place. And
Mm.
the part of what I would love to be able to do is there are countries that very few novels are written in, and written in English particularly, and especially when we're talking about recent conflicts. And if we could encourage people in those places to write their stories and have them translated, we would know much more about the world. And I would love Pack Book to become a conduit to that one day, that sets up writing classes in countries where
See,
you don't have.
that's what you should be doing right now in your blog. And you could do a Skype once a week for half an hour like what we just did. And so that's a real monetization proposition. The Amazon dwindle income, ugh, yeah. And Amazon, what's your affiliate link good for? What, 24 hours and then it's off. So if they don't buy straight away, you're pretty much not going to get that $2. That's the thing. I wouldn't want to rely on Amazon unless you've got huge traffic. So
The Amazon is definitely just an initial step into that
yeah,
monetization world. You
yeah.
certainly can't
Better
do
than
one.
nothing. Exactly. Look, I get that. Yeah. Is there anything else you do want to talk about though before I wrap the show up?
No, not really. Only just, obviously I'd love to invite people to come and have a look at the blog
Mm.
and become I would suggest that if you really are interested in this, it's signing up to the newsletter that will give you the most out of it.
Yeah.
Because that's where we really go into looking at this, and just read books. I want people to be reading. I really do. And hopefully people who haven't picked up a novel for a while will sit there and think, 10 minutes before bed, it's a really nice thing to go off and visit another world.
But yeah, no, look, thank you so much, Susie.
Thanks, Kate. That was great.
All right, no worries. I'll talk to you soon.